Welcome to Uncontested Investing. I am your host, Nate Zielinski, and we are starting a new chapter here on Uncontested Investing. You do not have to adjust your dial. I have taken over for Tim Harridge, and I'm excited to start this new era of Uncontested Investing. It's not Saturday night, but we're live from New York, and my first guest here is Bar Shechter. I'm happy to introduce him. Bar, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we get started?
My pleasure. I'm Bar. I was an originator and in the real estate industry and the mortgage industry for, I say like about 5 years already. Right now managing as a partner in lending specialty. Very young, the new generation in mortgage. As we know, the average age is very high, but looking to share some of my insights and answer some of your questions.
That's awesome. That's exactly why we have you here today. You have a great story, I think, of inspiration and ambition, a little bit of a mix of both. I think the first place to start is how you got introduced to real estate. This has kind of been a family thing. So you had, at an early age, you kind of had an insight of maybe this is something that you wanted to do. Can you talk a little bit more about your family and how you got started in real estate?
Yeah, definitely. So my family, I'm foreign. I'm from Israel originally. Moved to the U.S. about 10 years ago when I was 16, and my family also in Israel and also in the U.S. Very working and very connected to real estate. My father in the U.S. is a contractor in Silicon Valley in L.A., so really started over there and really learned the nits and grits about, using dirt and, using your hands eventually. And down the path, I went into more the real estate investing side, lending right now, which is, I'm very happy to be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So has there ever been a point where you would reach out to your dad to, get insight, get a perspective from somebody? I know that child-parent relationship doesn't always lend itself to going into the same profession when you grow up. So how has that kind of been, juggling that dynamic, but also having somebody that you're so close with and be able to ask them for advice?
I think in the beginning, he's a business owner. So if it was a business, I've been a business owner for the last 30 years. So when you start, definitely, but as it gets more complex and, more techy, I think so in our age, it's kind of like less and less, but more into the investing side. That's where we're asking about construction stuff. Really a lot of is more specializing in electrical. So
Okay.
very knowledgeable. So I know that's where you can make a lot of mistakes. But in the lending stuff, I kind of like, you learn by your experience, by your mistakes, and day by day.
That's a good thought process. Now, you talked about being young, a new generation in real estate. Have you faced any challenges with that? You kind of mentioned that this is an older person's industry. Typically, that's what we think. There, over I think the course of the past decade or so, there has been a lot of changes flooding into the industry. You can get started at such a young age in this industry. Have you faced any challenges? Has it been easier, you think, for you? Kind of talk about that a little bit.
I think at the beginning, you always face challenges, especially when you work with the really savvy investors. They really want to know, what you're doing. You don't want to just like play it along or, also they're older than me, like, maybe double my age. But I think my expertise and my service, it's what really helped me pass it. And then when they recommend to someone else, they're like, if this guy, this savvy investor who has like so many properties, refer me to someone else. So it's a no-brainer. Nice. And other people count on me. Sometimes I don't even say my age. My voice sounds older, but, it's part of it.
Nice. Yeah, so if people want to find you or, your company, you're a managing partner at Lending Specialty. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Nice. So kind of what's your day-to-day? How do you help people? How do you help a typical real estate investor?
So, first time an investor, I think I'm working with very savvy investors that, know the flow, know the system, always have questions no matter what, when they stumble upon a deal. But also I'm working with very new ones where it's just like their first deal, maybe the second one, and they need more guidance, they need more time on the phone, need more explanation. But always I'm trying, in our business is managing the origination day to day, trying to make it more streamline, more easy for them. Eventually, also on the processing side, also on the front end side, when they submitting a deal, when they want to get a quote. So with us, it's like we work on it and still working on it to make it very easy for the end user to really give us numbers, what we need, the least amount of information we need, and then we send them some information, and then we talk on the phone, explain them some questions, and we know we have very good service and rates, so people proceed with us and eventually accomplish their goal, investing and buying more properties and growing as they go down the path.
Yeah, that's great, because that's kind of you help me, I help you kind of situation, right? You're allowed to expand your career and grow in your business, but you're also, giving people the next level of financial freedom, right? They're breaking down barriers maybe for their family, for the next generation. Can you talk about does that like give you any gratitude? Do you think about that at all? Kind of like, this is a very business savvy industry, lots of transaction based things going on from a day-to-day perspective, but bigger picture, you are helping out a lot of people.
Yeah, so eventually I'm getting very connected to the investors. The ones I do a lot of deals with, you talk a lot on the phone, you ask them how they are. Sometimes, they're different state, different country. So you're getting very connected. Also, I'm meeting them a lot. I'm looking to meet them and really doing other partnerships when you get along. Some of them want to partner on different deals and do other unique stuff or creative stuff, which I'm just discovering as I go. And I'm just very happy to serve them, even on the weekend sometimes, when it's not convenient. But real estate is 24/7, I think. On the weekend and nights, people closing deals, you need to be fast, you need to give service. And if people know that, they will come to you and they will come back and they'll do, lifetime value for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's such a collaborative industry. A lot of people get into it thinking that they need to do it by themselves, or they don't want to, split any profit from a deal. But I think as more people get into it, and the deeper you get into the industry itself, you realize that some of these deals, it takes a village. It takes people helping you out, people with more knowledge, people with more money, whatever the case may be. It's definitely a huge benefit if multiple people are working together to accomplish the same goal.
Yeah, it's a team sport.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good one.
Everyone can get involved. It's expensive, having all the fees, but
yeah,
that's part of doing business, I think, in real estate.
I might have to take that one. It's a team sport. I like that a lot. All right, so let's dive into our first segment here in uncontested investing. We're switching it up a little bit, but we have the money making minute. So this is going to be a strategy, a habit, part of your routine maybe, or just an investment strategy in general. Just try to give our audience an insight into how they can be more successful on a day-to-day basis. And again, that can be something directly tied to real estate, or just something that you do on a day-to-day basis that maybe you feel sets you apart.
I think I cannot invent. There is already so many other stuff that people know. The basic stuff you can see on YouTube, you can see a lot of stuff. And I think when I see so many deals in many different states, many different areas, many different cities, and really different fix and flips, rentals, different stuff, I think what I've seen the difference between successful people and people that are just a beginning or less successful, less successful deals is when you have a team. Eventually, team sport, when we talked about, your team on the ground, your property management, your contractors. I see really many deals. I think that's my take when it comes to the tip, to really have a good team, also a lender, title company, all of that, people. It gets also to the appraisals. When you have a good team, the appraisals comes better, because all the process is better and the renovation is good, and then the deal succeed.
I think that's a great point, right?
Yeah.
Breaking it down as it being a team. If you had to kind of rank importance, or maybe if there are investors out there or people aspiring to, graduate to the lending phase like you are in now, do you have one that you would prioritize over the other? Maybe, the first step, who would be that first person? Is it a business partner? Is it a contractor? Is it, maybe a real estate agent in the area that you work in? Do you have any insight on, what one would be the most important?
That's tough. I think it's all of them eventually. But as you start, most people currently, I think, buying not where they live. Investing not where they live in other states. Maybe some people live in the bigger cities and invest. The cost is getting so higher for investing there. So people going to other states and other cities. But I think it's the flow of the deal. First of all, you need leads, you need deals. So first of all, real estate agent or wholesalers for our investors, and also getting to know the lender who is going to help you. You need really to approach him even before you have a deal on it, just to make sure you know the numbers, you're real comfortable with the fees, you're comfortable with the rates, and what you're going to be taking on yourself. And then eventually it goes to the contractor and property managers and people on the ground, where it's very important when you're not there to have people that make sure the deal goes through, delayed on. You're on the clock eventually if you take a loan. So you need to do it as fast as you can and, invest, and you want to grow. So fast and efficiency, that's the purpose.
Awesome. All right, let's take a quick break, give a shout out to our sponsor, and we will be right back with more uncontested investing. All right, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsor, REI Inc. REI Inc. is a premier monthly publication for real estate investors. Dive into a wealth of expert insights and strategies from industry leaders and gain valuable regional market insights, ensuring you always have the best information available. Visit reiinc.com to learn more today. All right, and we're back with Bar Shechter from Lending Specialty. One of the things that we hit on initially in the episode is that Bar is from Israel. So you work a lot with foreign investors, foreign nationals. What has that been like for you, being able to bridge that gap and help bring them success from, all the way from New York City?
I would say it's not easy. Definitely not easy. A lot of work, they're different creatures, as you say, but, they're the workflow is kind of the same eventually. There is more complex stuff when you have, they need to transfer money and stuff like that and show money and maybe they're starting the new process or the new journey in real estate, and they need to open their LLCs, and you need to explain them what the documents you need. Also in the US, you have a lot of these issues, but basically also it comes to the end when the signing is very difficult for foreign investors when they're in Israel. When in the US, it's easy, but doing it and facilitating all the shipment of the documents, that's when I'm come to play, and I'm trying to close it as fast as possible because really they have another deal coming through, or maybe it's a purchase, so we need to be on timeline and be really on the clock and make sure we close the deal. They don't want to lose their earnest money. So it's on me a lot to be also very creative when things going sideways. See how we can solve that, how we can do maybe delayed purchase and bring other capital partners that I have when I meeting new people and solving the deal and making sure they're going with the deal.
Yeah, nice. So maybe a little added extra pressure
in
that regard, making sure that you get across the finish line for them. I can see that coming up.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest piece of advice maybe for them? Is it getting that LLC set up? Sometimes they get into this and they might be in over their head initially. Is there any, tip, resource, anything that you can kind of give them as insight to kind of give them a leg up if a foreign national or a foreign investor's trying to get into this?
I'll say first, I think with the first deal, most of them going on, very good deals. They're finding they're very savvy. Also, the ones that just starting are very savvy. They really know what they're doing because, they've been investing in other countries, and then they see the opportunity in the US and they say, why not? I want to get those returns like my friend's doing. I think the first deal should be cash. That's what I've seen a lot, especially when it's a purchase and you need to rehab the property. It's really good to use your own funds, work on your funds, because when you make mistakes, it's going to cost you less.
Okay.
I think it's going to cost you either way, but when you have a loan on it, it's going to cost you more if you go through it. Like the time, there is bad issues, there is bad team, there is bad contractors. So I see a lot of people doing it, and just what I recommend. But if someone feels very confident going with sometimes a hard money loan, first of all, so and they're welcome to do it, and they can do it. There's no any experience required.
Yeah.
And when going into investing.
All right, time to break out our next segment here on Uncontested Investing. We have Deal Maker, Deal Breaker. So using personal experience, Bar, kind of give some insight to our audience because, this isn't always a 100% industry, right? You're not going to make every shot that you take. You're not going to close every deal. So, kind of pinpoint areas of maybe weakness when it comes to deals that broke down. That'll be the deal breaker, and then transition to the deal maker. Maybe some areas of success, common traits that you see, whether it's with yourself or the people that you work with, that help deals close on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. There's always deals going sideways and things that doesn't happen, not as planned. There's always new stuff that coming up, and as a lender, you need to know this stuff. There's a lot of stuff you can see up front before you can deal with those before, and not just like delay on the purchase or delay on the deals. I think most of the deals go through. There's no big issues with most of the deals. But recently, I think with the market and with where we are, there's a big issues as far as I see, appraisals. And I have a lot of deals that because of bad appraisals, it's just like weren't worthy going with. And there's different strategies how to go by it, but most of my deals, like maybe the team at the city or the team that the investor have didn't give the, let's say, the information or the right information on the property itself about the rehab they done or what's the current situation, and then the appraisal thought something else, and then it brought different comps and the client wasn't happy, and eventually they're looking maybe to sell the property and not going on a refi and not going again and making more money.
Yeah, so I think the big takeaway there is going to be there's a lot of factors. There's a lot of crossing the T's, dotting the I's with these deals. So from, the top level perspective, make sure that managing every little piece is a bigger issue than people might think it is, or one of the most important things, let's say. We're going to pause for another ad read here, and then we'll be back to wrap it up with Bar. Another quick break for one of our sponsors, obviously RCN Capital. RCN Capital strives to build long-lasting relationships with our investor clients. From the moment you sign up, you'll be assigned to a top-notch loan originator. They'll work with you through every step of the process on your current and future deals. Our team is committed to responsiveness, transparency, and clear communication, ensuring a seamless transaction from start to finish. Click the link in our bio to fill out an application today and speak with an RCN Capital loan officer. All right, and we're back. I want to thank the audience for joining us today. I'm joined by Bar Shechter from Lending Specialty. And one of the things I want to talk to you about, Bar, is we mentioned this earlier. It's kind of come up as a hot topic in the last 12 to 18 months, but the industry has gotten pretty difficult, pretty hard to maneuver, rates going up. There's a lot of negative connotation right now with the real estate investing industry and how difficult it may currently be. Has there ever been a point in your career where, you had doubts about, is this the right career choice? Something maybe came up that you thought about stepping away from it. Can you kind of talk the audience through any time that you might have had that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I didn't have any doubts the last 18 months. Sorry. I think we did quite good the last 18 months. The rates were high, but eventually you need to find the investor that looking to grow, because they can wait. The rates can go higher. We never know, but those investors looking to invest, and those weren't my investors at the time, and they're still my investors that I'm working with, and they're looking to grow, and they took loans at rates very high, but they'll probably refinance, I think, in a few years, and that's what we're thinking about in strategy also when we talk about the different terms when it comes to loans. But I think my doubts were very at the first when I got into the industry, because you're learning, you're just getting in, you don't know much, and you need to find your niche. Is it home buyers? Is it investing? Is it commercial? And then also in those bigger niches, there is smaller niches. It's like fix and flip rentals. What are you good at? How many units? What's your areas where you specialize? States where you know most of the, or cities where you very feel comfortable in lending in. Um, so at the beginning, I was very doubtful about it, but I think as I went and I did more networking and I talked to more. I started as originator, so I talked to more lenders at the time, and they really educated me, and I tried to educate myself as much as possible online, because that's the resource you have. If you're not paying for someone, or it's very, a lot of it's in the shadows. And when you go to the lender route from the originator route and you transfer to be a lender, it's kind of like the curtains open. There is a lot still that you need to learn. There's a lot more. There's a lot you're taking more on yourself, and there is more in the process and in the risk assessment that you do. It's very interesting. I love it, but it's always learning progress. You always need to learn every day. The experience you grow from that. Deals you do again. Every deal looks different. All the deals look very similar but very different. If it's a client or what's going on, and there's always new issues coming up, and our job is to solve it eventually.
Yeah, that's a great takeaway for the audience, I think, for sure, right? It's an ambition, a character trait, right? But it's also a mindset. Not every day is going to be easy for the life of a real estate investor or a professional within the industry. So just persevering. There's ebbs and flows. I remember when I first started working for RCN Capital, people were flooding into the industry. The rates were pretty much at an all-time low, and it seemed like a very easy industry to get into. But over time, as we've talked with the rise in interest rates, a lot of the sentiment from what I heard from the most experienced investors over the course of the last 18 months was nothing has changed for us, right? Where it's business as usual. It's push forward, it's learning, it's adapting. So I think if there's ever any investors or people in the industry that have doubts, just know that there's been people in your shoes before, and they've just pushed through, been patient, kept looking to find solutions, find deals, whatever the case may be. So I just think that takeaway of you're not alone. People have doubted themselves before, especially in this industry, but just keep going, and greener pastures ahead for sure.
That's right.
Moving on to a passion project of yours, or why you do this, right? Real estate, the real estate investment space, you mentioned it. It's 24/7. It's being available on the weekends. There's a lot of early mornings and late nights, right? So easy to maybe burn yourself out a little bit. I know for the younger generation, right? You got to strike while the iron's hot while you have that energy. But is there anything outside of investing that you have passion for that you kind of helps you in your real estate investment journey as a lender? Or is there like an overarching reason why you do this, or who you do it for maybe?
I think you burn a lot also as a young person. You can burn, and eventually you need to grow your team and have more leverage when it comes to delegate some stuff. And we have team, and we're growing our team every day, and that's what helps me do more loans, get less burned. But eventually, out of it, I think the most important is friends and family. Doing some sports and stuff like that, but seeing friends and family, it gives you some energy. It's not just working all day in real estate, which I love. I love real estate. I love talking investing. I know a lot about it, and I love to share my insights about it. But you need to sometimes take breaks, go on vacation, go skiing, which I love, especially this winter. And also walking while I ski, but it's like that's why you ski in Europe. But
checking the email on the ski lift up.
Yeah, no, like I ski in Europe, so the time zones and stuff like that, you can work on US time eventually after you finish skiing. So that's what I like. But you make money, you need to spend it on something.
Mm-hmm. So kind of leaning on that insight, right, that you just talked about, do you see any particular deals working more in this current market than others? Is there like a strategy that you're pushing investors towards, or is it just kind of whatever comes up, you try to close?
I think most of the deals, they're very in the same price range. Some of them like very low purchase prices, some very high, but the returns are very good. Eventually you want to see the 1% rule or higher than that on rentals. And I have a lot of investors that going Section 8 route, which some people may agree, some people may not, but they're getting very high returns. And so it seems like those deals doing very good. But eventually it's the numbers. If it makes sense for you, if you're looking for equity or you're looking for cash flow, there's a mix to it, but depends what your strategy is and where you invest. But you need to know the market. Just in going to a city and investing in it without knowing the people or not knowing what's been or the history or what the prices have been doing, you may be wrong, may be right, but knowledge is power.
Definitely. And that's a perfect segue. I think we've had a few conversations leading up to the episode. You're a pretty sharp guy. I can just tell, and you're extremely motivated to succeed in this industry. Have you ventured into any mentoring, any teaching, any, speaking about this yet, in terms, maybe not so much motivational, but maybe like as a keynote or a guest speaker at something? Have you thought about that yet? Or is it still strictly, about the work and about lending specialty right now?
You mean like me speaking or
Yes,
like me?
yeah.
Like,
No,
speaking
yeah,
to other
like,
people?
yeah, like you speaking.
No, not yet. I think I need like a bit more time and, kind of like I have a lot on the business right now, so really focus on that. But I think when the right time hits, it will come.
Yeah,
I'm working on it. I need to work on social media and stuff. It's like eventually you need to be ready on different aspects. Just like going and speaking. I think I need to be. There is a progress to it. But I'm trying to learn. I'm learning from other people speaking in other places, mostly YouTube, where all the investors, I think, going there, and there is all the well-known podcasts. But
Uncontested investing.
but
Thank you.
every
Thank you for the
place
plug.
is good information. You just need to know what is good, what is bad, who is
Mhm.
trying to sell you something, because there is a lot of bad I don't say bad. Like everyone has a good intention, but eventually they're trying to sell you a course or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not for you. There is a lot of free information online. You just need to know how to find it.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing in the last few years.
Yeah.
Working on that.
So is it on LinkedIn? Is it social media? Is it lendingspecialty.com? I think if people watch this episode that are real estate investors, they probably want to get in touch with you and close some deals with you. Can you tell our audience maybe the best way to find you?
Yeah, definitely. So we have the website, www.lendingspecialty.com. And get a quote. And if someone wants, we don't really need to speak to anyone, but they can fill information. We'll send them a quote without even talking. And there is some information on it. Mostly, I think for me, I've seen Facebook. That's where my kind of like business stuff in. Part of my family and friend stuff. So Bar Shechter, you can find me, very easy. There's not a lot of those names, but you can hit me up on Facebook or, on the website. There is also our phone number. Someone can call or, text us if there's any questions. So we'll love to, give you some insight. Doesn't have to be a business related or scenario related, but, we love to help anyone and educate.
Awesome. Well, personally, I want to thank you, Bar. As I
Pleasure.
mentioned on the onset, this is my first time recording for Uncontested Investing. You've been a great guest, extremely insightful. I think a lot of people can have some takeaways from your story and apply it to their life. So that was huge. That's going to do it for us today on Uncontested Investing, guys. If you appreciated this interview with Bar, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You're going to hear a lot of shameless plugs from me as we try to grow our Uncontested Investing audience in this new chapter and beyond. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you to my guests, Bar Shechter from Lending Specialty, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for listening to Uncontested Investing. Questions about today's episode or the podcast? Email podcast@rcncapital.com and make sure to follow REI Inc. magazine on LinkedIn and Facebook and RCN Capital on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you all next time.